Welcome back to Beyond the Loch. Very exciting. Last episode, we spoke to Elizabeth McIntosh, one of our Highland Heroes, and we spoke a lot about changes in Highland tourism over the years. We spoke about her career. This episode, we've got a new Highland Hero. Very exciting. Can you tell us who it is and a little bit about our next guest?
Absolutely, Grace. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this next one. Our next guest is going to be Dick Beach from the Fiddlers Highland restaurant across the road. For those that don't know, Dick has been in the village for many years now. Has been heavily involved in things like Chamber of Commerce, the Hogmanay Festival when that run. More recently, he's been instrumental in helping to drive the local men's shed. So I'm hoping that we're able to tease some of that stories out of him. He's got a very colourful career, if you like, in tourism. So yeah, can't wait. So a very warm welcome to everyone to another episode of Beyond the Loch. I am delighted to say that we are being joined today by another gentleman that requires no introduction in the village here or to perhaps tourism across Scotland, but we have with us today Mr. Dick Beach from the famous Fiddlers Highlands restaurant just across the road here from the Loch Ness hub. Dick, a very, very warm welcome to Beyond the Loch.
That's good to be here.
Thank you. I recognise a lot of people know who you are, and of course we all do, but perhaps for our listeners at home and overseas, maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Right, me, yes. Well, I've worked in the hotel business for many, many years. And about 50 years ago, I was sent up to Inverness to work to manage the Station Hotel, which is now the Royal Station Hotel. And I did 5 years there, very happy, loved the Highlands. In another life, I think I must have come from here. And then I got a big promotion to go south, and my wife said to me when I told her where it was, she said, "Oh, that's very nice. Myself and the kids will come and visit you from time to time." So I stayed here, and I got quite involved managing 2 or 3 big hotels in the Highlands. Then I retired. Before I retired, I bought Fiddlers, which was a little restaurant across the road. And my children have run that for a long time. Then I retired and came up and ran it, and we decided to go for whiskey, because my son and I both liked whiskey. And we did well with it. In fact, we won the Whisky Bar of Scotland 5 times with it. And we look after people. And we've got a nice friendly place. And I think that, yeah, it's good.
Fantastic. Last one of our previous episodes, we had Elizabeth McIntosh. She talked very highly of you as a fellow committee member, volunteer in the community. Perhaps you maybe tell us a little about the roles that you played within the community.
Right.
Liz talked about the opening of the Visitor Information Centre and the Chamber of Commerce days.
Yes.
Maybe tell us a little bit more about
that. Well,
the
tourist centre was open by the time I retired and came up here. But I got very involved with Liz. The motive for it was through Yvonne Crook, who's very, very involved in the Highlands in tourism. And she pulled us all together, and about 7 of us got together, and we set up, we reinvented the Chamber of Commerce. And at one point in the little village, we had 89 members.
Wow.
And we decided to do all sorts of things, and we had a lot of fun. We had whiskey festivals, we had food festivals, we did all sorts of silly things. And in fact, at one point, we got involved with some people in Alsace, in a village. And the village is now aligned with that village. We're not twinned. And with time, the momentum from it has gone. But I'm still in touch with 1 or 2 people out there. But we did have a lot of fun. In fact, we went out there, 5 or 6 of us went out there to do the sort of alliance ceremonies, and off we went, and I actually spoke to the whole village in French for about a quarter of an hour. How about that? Yeah. Don't think I could do it now, but anyway, I did do it.
Multi-talented.
And our local councillor at that time, who's now retired, she was most helpful, as is our present councillor. He's an excellent man. And they're all added together, these things, and made people feel as though there was something happening.
Yeah.
And we did all sorts of things. The Hogmanay Festival was a good one, But you know that one of the problems, all these things are done on a voluntary basis. And somehow or other over the years, the business of doing things voluntarily has sort of waned a bit. It's sad.
It's certainly more challenging as the years go on to get more and more volunteers. Yes. Everyone's so busy.
The village in France that we dealt with had money given to them. The local mayor handled a lot of it.
Sure.
And therefore he had money to spend on things.
Well, maybe we'll need to speak nicely to Councillor Fraser. Give us some more money. Just bringing back to the Fiddlers now, obviously it's a cornerstone of the village, and it's fantastic to see the expansion over the years. And I believe there are new plans afoot. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about the evolving of Fiddlers?
Well, it started off owned by a local chap who had a pizza restaurant, and he did well with it. And at a certain point, I got involved with him, and a couple of years later, I bought it off him. And we continued with the pizza idea, which I love. It was good fun. But it began to become less and less of the business. Okay. So at a certain point, we decided to turn it into a restaurant, a simple Highland restaurant, and which we have done. And that's gone on like that. The whiskey thing has helped immensely. It isn't that everyone drinks whiskey, but they do come in to have a look at the bottles and do the things, and
absolutely.
Learn.
And for anyone that hasn't ever been in Fiddlers, if you are visiting the village, please, it's worthwhile going.
It's a friendly place.
Just to see the whiskey collection.
Yes, indeed.
It's immense. Fantastic. So we look forward to see it continuing to expand.
Yeah.
And tourism is ever evolving. Perhaps could you touch on changes that you've noticed in tourism over the years, and perhaps what's had the highest impact?
Well, at the moment, one of the big impacts, which hasn't yet come to fruition properly, but it will, is the idea of Gurkha, which was the local rural association, taking over the idea of using the government's idea to take on assets locally. And they have taken on assets, and they are handling them well. And I think with time, it will grow bigger. The hub being one of those things. The hub is an excellent centre for people, and is handled right, and is a place that people can go to find out things. Because in spite of the online business and so on, people do like to talk to people.
Oh, absolutely.
It's holidays. I mean, it's people.
People go on holiday to immerse themselves in the culture and heritage of the village. And for that, I think you need people. You've touched on already probably part of my next question in terms of the local community adapting to the growth or shifts in tourism, and that might allow me to move on to the following one, whereby tourism is everyone's business, as we always say.
Oh, absolutely.
And is also a vital employer locally here. I know from my brief time working at Fiddlers, it's a special place to work. Can you maybe tell us what Fiddlers' secrets to staff retention and creating that family feeling for employees?
Yes, well, I think, and of course you really should be asking the staff, not me, because I've got this funny idea that owners have that you're doing everything right. But I think we do get that right. We treat people fairly. We tell them everything. We don't hide anything. I mean, if someone wanted me to tell them how much I was spending on detergents, I could tell them, but they're not interested, but they can know. Profit lines, things like that. Why keep it a secret, and we talk to them fairly and properly. And I don't think, I don't run the business now, my son runs it with his wife, and they're fair people, they're nice people, and it catches on this. It's being nice to people and nice to guests, and that's it. It's being nice to people.
Being nice to people. It's not more complicated than that.
Can I tell you a little story? I worked for one of the big lights in catering in Scotland for 20 years. He wasn't loved by everybody, but to work with, he was super. And I once asked him about our business, and I said, what is the most important thing? And he didn't answer straight away. And then he said to me, Dick, he said, it's cleanliness, friendliness, and value for money. Now, value for money doesn't mean that's cheap, but it's value for money. Mm. And that's what I think we do at Fiddlers. Frightens me sometimes. We're getting quite expensive, but we have to if we're going to cover the costs. But value for money and cleanliness and friendliness is so important.
It's everything. That warm Highland welcome, eh?
Aye.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, so the village has no shortage of local legends, yourself
No.
included, and perhaps stories. Do you have a particular story or anything that sticks in your mind from
Not,
illustrious career in tourism?
not really. I mean, we do have locally Mr. Loch Ness, Willie Cameron, who is absolutely stunning, telling people around the world, not just here, about Nessie and so on. And of course, we have Nessie. Now, there's a thing. Everyone in the world knows about Nessie. Now, that's quite something. She's up there with the pyramids and all sorts of things, you know. It's quite wonderful.
Is there a better story?
No. And a lovely story, too.
Absolutely.
Whether she's there, of course she is, but maybe she's not. I don't know. The local exhibition has been rejigged. It always was very good, but it was very scientific. Now it's got a bit of humour in it, and it's really very good. And someone coming to the village and visiting it, they'll go away with a smile on their face, which is important. Yeah.
That is important.
Yeah.
Have you, over the years, maybe seen any unusual events or moments that come to mind? I mean, and you touched on earlier the Hogmanay Festival.
Well, that was good. Yes, that was good, and run by local ladies. They weren't allowed to charge. Because they got a bit of funding, so they weren't allowed to take money from people.
Okay.
But it was a cracking 2 or 3 years that we did it. Great for us at the restaurant because we only have 50 odd seats in the restaurant. So when we did Christmas and New Year, it wasn't a big number to play with in terms of spending for a bit of fun and so on. So we were friendly. We had the first Christmas, I had a big rocket. Don't know where I got it from. It was a massive thing. So at midnight, I got everyone outside and we set this rocket off, you see. And I don't know what people expected, but that was a firework display. So that was fine. But you know, the next year, 2 or 3 people phoned up and said, "Can we book for New Year? And will you have your rocket?" It was really quite funny. But when the Hogmanay thing came, it was great for us. We could run a restaurant, and by 11 o'clock at night, everyone disappeared off and went across for the show. You know?
That out-of-season business that can make a world of difference. Fantastic. If you allow us maybe to move on a little bit, I now know that you're heavily involved in the men's shed. We have some of the amazing products on display here, and again we're delighted to be able to help out.
Yes,
selling
it's
some
lovely
of
you
them
do.
in the
Thank
hub.
you.
Can you maybe tell our viewers and listeners a little bit about the
Yeah,
men's shed?
yeah. About 5 years ago, someone said we should have a men's shed. I didn't know anything about men's sheds, but it was an idea thought up in Australia. It was an idea thought up by a lady, strangely enough, as everything is nowadays. But she had a retired father who was becoming a bloody nuisance at home. So she arranged for him to meet 2 or 3 friends. And these 2 or 3 friends had this idea of meeting regularly and making things. And the men's shed started. Now, in Australia, many of the towns and villages actually subsidize the men's shed because it's a mental health thing as well. And so I got very involved in that with 4 or 5 others. And the 4 or 5 of us that started it all were still together. And we've got now 23 members. And we've just moved to new premises. And we do things for people. We'll do it for nothing if people can't afford it, but we charge people a donation. We don't ask them for a set amount.
Sure.
Last year we made 23 picnic tables for people. We were absolutely bloody amazed. These things were just flying out, you know. And we've already sold one this year. But last week we sold one.
Some hardy Highlanders having
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, and the places where people put them are really strange. Anyway, we're going to be having a lot of that and a lot more when we get our new premises organised within the next sort of couple of months. We've got new roofs to go on and things. So but it's a great, at the moment we've nothing to do really. So we meet on a Wednesday evening, and if anyone's in the village and wants to come along, they're quite welcome. And we drink tea or coffee, and we have good crack. And it's nice that we all get on so well together. You know, that's the trick. Yeah. And there are lots of little operations in the village like that. You know, as you do get in villages, you know, people doing the knitting and other people doing heritage. And it's just nice.
Yeah, I don't think you can put a price on these kind of things.
No.
It's a fantastic project.
Got to be kept going.
Absolutely, kept going. Yeah, and one that I think everyone in the community is delighted to support.
Yeah.
lastly, Dick, for any young people listening, maybe considering starting a career in tourism, what would your advice be to them?
My advice would be the same advice I got, was that if you're the sort of person that wants to meet your girlfriend or your boyfriend at 6 o'clock in the evening every evening, don't come into this business. It's not that sort of business. But the plus sides are enormous in terms of the enjoyment of looking after people, which is nice. The enjoyment of managing the thing is very good. That's what I did. I was a manager, and I was very lucky to have very good training and all this sort of stuff. But the fun of it's enormous when you get it right. It has its moments. Downtime, but I don't think there's any more ulcers in the catering business than there is in any other business, you know.
Yeah.
And there's now good money to be earned. There always was good money, but it all came through tips and things.
Yeah.
There is good money. I mean, we fellas that wash dishes for me are earning about £14 an hour. I mean, it's not bad for a young kid's just come out. He's not even out of school.
I think I might need to go back
Come
to
on,
myself.
well, you might be wrong, but you know. So I think there's so much for it. And what I would say to anyone starting out, decide what you want to do, and don't work anywhere where you're not learning. If you're not learning, you're wasting your time. You should be learning, you know, to get yourself ready.
It's a fantastic piece of advice, and probably a great place to end it. On behalf of everyone here at Beyond the Loch, thank you so much for coming along.
Well done, and well done for putting this together. I think this is a great idea.
Thank you. We'll pass that on to the team.
Do you think it'll become worldwide?
You never know.
You never know.
So thank you very much again, and we look forward to seeing everyone on the next episode of Beyond the Loch.
Yes, lovely. Thank you.
So that was great.
Fantastic.
Got a lot out of him. Lots of stories, and based on feedback, the idea that people love is that we are, in a sense, recording the local history. So it's great to have more characters, more stories to get all of that information down. Yeah,
I think when we set out with this idea, we perhaps maybe not overlooked, but hadn't considered the impact of the heritage and the culture and the stories, and then realizing that, as somebody put it to me, we're recording history. So there's a plethora of history and culture in the Glen here, and some real fantastic characters. And there's none more so than Dick. So absolutely fantastic to get all his stories down on recorded. Yeah, amazing. On to the next. So thank you so much to all of you for tuning in to our first podcast. We'd love it if you join in on our next one. Keep an eye on our socials at Loch Ness Hub, and we'll be announcing there.